Anyone who knows me or perhaps follows me on Instagram will know and see that I love going to the gym and I really enjoy eating healthy food. I am that annoying vegetarian who will go to a cafe and have an acai bowl and an oat flat white. That is me. I'm sorry. But what I have learnt to loathe, perhaps more than anything else at the moment, other than Brexit, is the term dieting. Now, I'm not trying to say that we don't have a serious issue that needs addressing with regards to obesity. That's not the point. I think we should all strive to, get to a healthy BMI. That's not the point of this. My issue is when I say dieting to you, what do you think? Because I think of rice crackers, low sugar meal replacement bars, and perhaps a reality star popping up on your Instagram feed saying, take these weight loss tablets, you will lose 7 inches off your hips in 3 hours. Who knows what's in those tablets? One. And my issue with dieting, there's two key kind of things that are significant to me. One, it's an attempt at a short-term kind of fix on a lifelong process. So a lot of these diets are like, lose blah, blah, blah in 3 weeks or 6 months or a year. My question is what happens after that? A lot of these diets are really, really severe. So you're encouraged to, wake up first thing and have a bit of butter in your coffee, have a banana and a black coffee, then don't eat till 8 p.m. That is not a way to live your life. I mean, it might work for some people, but as a society in its entirety, I can't see that working. And secondly, which I think is a slightly more severe point, is we are applying a negative notion to eating. So dieting encourages us to restrict ourselves. I mean, the actual definition of dieting in the dictionary is to reduce the amount of food we eat in order to lose weight. And I think we have to be really, really careful with that, because we are encouraging ourselves to restrict ourselves. And before we know it, we actually can be alienated from society. So this is where I come in. So 18-year-old, 19-year-old James, speaking about myself in third person, that is weird. I would be that person that wouldn't go out in the evenings to socialise with friends because drinking alcohol was too sugary, in my opinion. I wouldn't be able to go out for meals because, there was nothing I could eat in any of these places. It was deemed too fattening, and carbs were the plague. It was like the worst thing ever to have a single carb. So I didn't eat bread for a year. I refused to have ketchup. And actually I didn't drink alcohol for a year. In my head at the time, and what I told people, it was, I don't need it to have fun. It's a little bit of a challenge. But the reality was I was terrified that I was going to put on weight. So I think that this is a scary thing. I think we go on our Instagram feeds, and men and women, but I'm going to speak from a guy's perspective because I feel that sometimes we don't really speak about men having a negative relationship with food, do we? And I did a Sky News thing a while ago with Mark Austin, and it was the feedback was tremendous. So thank you so much for that. But it made me recognise that perhaps there is a wider issue here to be discussed. Me, as that 16, 17-year-old boy, was surrounded by, I suppose, the role models on film, models, all that kind of stuff, the Abercrombie phase. Everyone was massive, ripped, tanned, and could deadlift 200 kilograms. And I was skinny and didn't know what a deadlift was. And before I knew it, this bizarre world kind of dragged me in and took over my life. And before I knew it, I was obsessed. And looking back now, in my head then, I was not eating X, Y, and Z. I wasn't socializing because I thought it was healthy. You see these cliche Instagram accounts and they're saying, fitness is key to everything, man. Like, fitness to protein is amazing in many, many ways. But an obsession with fitness can be detrimental to your health and physique. I was starving myself, so I'd have porridge in the morning with 2 scoops of protein powder made with water because I was scared that milk was too sugary. I'd then have chicken, just like, and the other boys from the bank can back this up. I would just have plain chicken breasts from like Marks and Spencer, just open like cold, that with a tin of cold tomato soup, and I'd dip it in and eat that. And then in the evening, I'd just have broccoli and chicken again. I wouldn't have any carbohydrates with that, or I say wouldn't have carbohydrates. I was having, you know, artificially sugared protein bars, thinking that they were absolutely fine and that they were full of goodness, because to me, protein superseded everything. If it had 20 grams of protein in, it was incredible. But what I hadn't recognized is all the artificial sugar in there that was actually inhibiting my body from consuming the protein that was in the product. So I was in this really, really bizarre circle with my eating. And I look back now, and at the time I thought, oh, this is great. I have a 6-pack. And you know, sometimes I get tagged in these pictures still to this day. And at the time I thought, oh yeah, it's great. Like, I've smashed it. I'm a Hollister god. That sounds really arrogant. But at the time I thought I was happy. But actually the reality was I had awful skin, terrible skin. I was really, really thin. Like you could see my arms and my legs were significantly thinner than people around me. I'm just under 6 foot, and you know, my other friends that were shorter than me, like, I'm not a naturally skinny person, and my arms were like their wrists. And it was scary, and also I was an absolute dickhead to be around. I was moody. My schedule revolved around food. If I didn't know that I was able to access protein every 2 hours, I would literally, I'd write it off as being like hangry, but actually it was destroying me inside. And it's bizarre because I thought that I was following a diet, but what I failed to do was deny the term diet at a certain point, and it indoctrinated me. And I would Monday to Saturday, I would do what I just said with the food. I'd have no sauces or seasoning on anything because it was too sugary or fattening in my head. And then Sunday, I'd starve myself until 4 o'clock and deem it as fasting, because you should fast. And then have an enormous meal of 2,000 calories, and it was a cheat meal. And, you know, I always read on social media, oh, you should shock your metabolism because it'll kickstart it again and you'll lose weight. But actually, no, you'll put on muscle, and that's great. And make sure you have dessert. Yeah. So I was smashing like 3,000 calories in one sitting, and I never felt more sick than when I had those meals. But I literally would cram it down my throat because I've been starving myself all week, and the cravings for that sugar never left. So for, you know, a year, my body was permanently like crying out for being fed, and I would just deny it and ignore it. So on the Sundays, I go to bed feeling sick every weekend, and it was really difficult. And what I've learned now, the biggest issue that I have with these diets, I mean, one, you know, we've said they don't actually really work statistically, but the issue is with fitness. And I feel quite weird saying this because I go to the gym every single day. And actually, if I'm honest, I still struggle a lot with the food side. It's something that that literally has a complete hold over my life. And it's something that I'm really trying to break. And Kirsty's been really supportive with me on that. But I'm on a journey with that. The issue is, we're climbing ladders in fitness. So the first goal might be get a 6-pack. The second goal might be get bigger arms, deadlift 200. But the thing is, or lose a certain amount of weight. And this is why it's so scary and sad, because it can happen so easily to anyone who just wants to lose a little bit of weight for something, a wedding, I don't know. But you hit that target, or you learn to run 10 kilometers, or you've lost an inch off your hips and you can get into those trousers or something. But actually, that period of satisfaction from achieving that goal is very, very limited. There's no longevity in that, because a couple of weeks later, after, you know, I don't know, for me, it was getting a six-pack. A couple of weeks after getting the six-pack, I was like, oh, actually, yeah, but like that guy on Instagram, he's got really big arms. And before I knew it, I spiraled into this horrible regressive cycle of permanently feeling inadequate and striving to climb the next rung of that fitness ladder. And you can't win. There's no end. There is no goal. You are never satisfied if you get into that bizarre cycle. And that's what terrifies me, because I'm still in the cycle. But this must be something that affects other people. What's the answer? What's the solution? And I think the solution is moderation, which I still don't have. But it doesn't just apply to eating food. It applies to everything, to recognizing that social media streams aren't the be all or end all, or acknowledging that a bodybuilder's physique is not something that we can all acquire. Those guys are crazy. They take an array of supplements. They'll go to the gym twice a day, and then they'll probably still edit their pictures. This is not a solution to our society. We should not strive to look like those people, because it's inhumane on our bodies, for one. And psychologically, it's terrifying. So moderation is the key. And it's something that I'm learning to deal with. And I don't really know, again, with these videos, I don't really know the purpose of them, other than let's start a conversation about it.